Hello everybody and welcome to Unfeared, a podcast of ghost stories written by women. Every fortnight I grab my iPhone, my book and a mic and I go to an ordinary strange place to read you a ghost story. With Valentine's Day around the corner, I thought I would read you a love story for this episode. This is our 10th episode, which is pretty cool, and to be able to read a kind of spooky, disturbing, obsessed, vengeance-filled ghost story for Valentine's? Yeah, I think that works. So now let's crack on and read this brilliant story. Everything Here Is Mine by JAW McCarthy. Come alone, he pleaded, as if I were the same woman he knew back then, the same girl who couldn't go anywhere or do anything without encouragement and support. He thinks I can't still grow and change. He thinks I've stopped learning. It's strange to see my house from the outside. Your old home, he likes to remind me as exes do. Sometimes everything goes black, and then I'm standing on the sidewalk or in the backyard, wedged between bushes and peering in the windows. Watching Jason in the living room, yet again furiously scrubbing at the smeared soot letters above the fireplace, while texting on his phone. Watching Alison in the kitchen, ballet flats balanced on a drawer handle so she can reach the cabinet above the refrigerator, where her healthy supply of candles now lives. You don't know how many times, as her chin hovered above the edge of the refrigerator, I wished for that little bit of leather and satin to slip. I left him everything, by default really, but I would have done it on paper like that anyway. Almost every piece of furniture in that house is mine. Came with me when we moved in. The couch and chairs in dining room set, and my grandmother's roll-top desk by the window that overlooks the ravine where I used to watch the owls at night. Now Alison uses that desk as a craft table, a fucking craft table. She can't even scrapbook right. The one that really gets me, though, is our bed. The cradle of our marriage, Jason used to joke, hands folded in mock prayer and eyes to God, just to make me laugh. I chose that bed, and we bought it together, brand new, for us. Now Alison moans and grips the hand-carved headboard while he breathes her name into her hair, the same way he used to breathe mine. But it's just stuff. What am I going to do with all that furniture anyway? Even when Alison sneaks up to the attic and tries on my old dresses, I count to 10 and then I let it go. As long as her hands are clean and she puts everything back in the wardrobe as she found it. Well, except for my wedding dress, which is also the red gingham halter dress I was wearing when Jason proposed to me on the overlook at the woods by our house. The last time Alison tried to put that dress on, the shelf above her collapsed. Jason found her minutes later under a stack of suitcases, clutching her head and cursing my name. They're always cursing my name, so I write it everywhere, every chance I get. I've used paint, markers, fireplace soot, and even raspberry jam. Once, I burned my name in huge letters right above the bed as they slept. Alison screamed and checked into a hotel for the night after I did that. Jason actually cried. The best one, though, was when Jason tripped over my books in the hallway. He went tumbling down the stairs and ended up with 2 black eyes. I must have laughed for a week straight. So I'll come alone, as he requested, not out of guilt or even a tiny shred of loyalty, but because I'm curious. I want to see them stubbornly, stupidly keep trying to play house. I want them to throw everything they have at me. I want them to see that I am stronger than they ever knew. He keeps calling me. He's been doing it for days now, mostly him, but sometimes Alison calls out too. It starts all gentle and lilting like a lure, and then moves to an insistent and firm "Laura!" as if I were a naughty pet that had just piddled on the rug. "Laura!" they bark when I don't answer, their mouths tight and their hands squeezing as they sit at the dining room table. Again, my dining room table. They're still calling right now because they don't know I'm already here. It's after midnight and the only light comes from the circle of white pillar candles they've arranged on the dining room table. They sit opposite each other with their hands clasped across the surface, Alison jerking a little every time one of the flames jumps because she's afraid her sleeve will catch on fire. They both call for me again, their eyes raised cautiously to the ceiling, the uncertainty of horror movie recollections clear on their faces. The Jason I used to know would have set out the good plates and cooked my favourite pasta, welcomed me with bourbon instead of this bait-and-switch dinner party bullshit. My one-time friend Alison would have brought eclairs and queued up the playlist we used to dance to at her house. Now, they both look like they're about to piss their pants. I'd like to see Alison scrapbook this little get-together. "Okay, I'm here," I announce, settling into a seat between the two of them. Alison drops Jason's hands, almost knocking over a candle as she slides her arms to brace at her sides. "Laura? Yeah? It's really you?" Jason marvels, the whites of his eyes bright and perfectly round in the flickering light. "You came?" "You invited me," I sigh. He leans towards me just as Alison is pushing back her seat. I hate the way he's staring at me, as if it's been so long that he can't trust his eyes, that if he blinks, he might miss signs that I am an imposter. When he moves his hands towards me, I quickly pull my own hand off the table and into my lap. "What's it like?" he starts. Are you okay?" "You have to stop," Alison bursts. Jason and I both look at her. She's got her chair pushed back as far as it will go, and she's perched on the edge with her hands gripping the seat like she's buckled herself in for an earthquake. I loved her, but Jason and I used to laugh about how tightly wound she was, how she gripped the car door handle and winced every time we went above 30. "Ali, wait, no!" She stands up abruptly, knocking her chair into the wall. "Laura, you have to stop it. You're scaring me. You're scaring us." I expect Jason to go to her, but he doesn't. He just looks from her to me, back and forth, and says her name a couple more times in that condescending, soothing voice he used to use on me. If he calls her Alley Cat, I decide I will throw one of the lit candles at his head. "Ali, she needs something from us." He turns to me for confirmation. "Laura, tell us, what do you need?" "I need you to get a fucking grip." Pressed against the wall, Alison's fingers roam to her throat, and that's when I see it. The obsidian pendant nestled in the dip of her collarbone. The silver setting winks at me in the candlelight. "Really?" I fume, rushing to her. I grab the pendant and pull the chain taut, twisting until our faces are just inches apart. "You had to take this? You have to take everything?" Alison starts screaming, and Jason is behind me now, trying to touch me again. No matter how hard he tries, though, he can't pull me back. I give him nothing to grip. As Alison blubbers, "Please," and "don't," and "stop" in jagged non-sequiturs, I feel a halo around my vision, a narrowing that tunnels into the gold coming from her mouth. Behind me, Jason's murmuring starts to surface. "Christ be with us, Christ be within us. I bind us unto the name, the powerful name of the Trinity." I toss the pendant back against Alison's collarbone and turn to Jason. Are you serious? What is wrong with you? Please, Laura, you can't keep doing this. You have to go, Alison agrees, rubbing the centre of her throat. This isn't your home anymore, Laura. I turn all the way round to face Jason. He takes a step back and I feel powerful in that moment. Even more powerful than when I was writing my name on the walls and taking down shelves. Everything here is mine. I glance back at Alison. You can't take it from me. You can't erase me. Please, Laura, you have to find peace. You have to give us peace. There are tears streaking Alison's cheeks when she slips from behind me and joins Jason. They clasp hands and form a barricade in front of me, making me the one trapped against the wall now. When they start to chant, the halo returns and I feel myself falling back into nothing, nothing to catch me, not even blackness, just gold spreading everywhere. Christ be with us, Christ be within us, I bind us unto the name, the powerful name of the Trinity. You have got to be fucking kidding me, is the last thing I remember saying. There's a big empty spot where the bed should be, and at first I think I've somehow forgotten where the master bedroom is. Then I look up, and I can see where they painted over my name, the dark burn of Laura, only faded and now outlined in bright white. I'm surprised Alison hasn't attempted to decoupage over the spot. They're calling me again, which makes no sense, since they just tried to banish me 5, 10, 15 minutes ago. Time is hard for me to comprehend now. It moves like a small bird, pecking and hopping within reach, then soaring into the distance when I think I'm close enough to grasp it. I was falling back, then everything swirled into gold, and then I ended up here, in what used to be my favourite room. I used to sit by the window and rub lotion onto my legs in here, the best part of my morning, a prickle beneath my fingers as I inhaled the heady scent of cherry blossoms mingling with Jason's sweat from the night before. Now it smells like fake lemons in here, an empty cleanliness that's never allowed the residue of what flesh does in this room. I hear Jason's footsteps weighing on the stairs, so I rush into the space that used to be all mine. It's Alison's now. She made that clear by taking down my photos and filling the little closet with her tasteful cardigans and heels. Her puff paint markers and fuzzy stickers and other craft supplies are gathered in a box that sits where my roll-top desk used to be. I unscrew all the lids on the little pots of glitter before Jason can get to me. Laura, I know you're still here. We just want to talk, okay? Please, let's just talk. We already talked, I answer, sliding past him in the hall. I'm halfway down the stairs when I see it. A sliver of white on the bottom step. A pearlescent spike, the size of a fingernail clipping, catching a little bit of moonlight from the open window. I pick it up, despite knowing right away what it is, and find comfort in its familiar smoothness. When I bend down again, I can see on the same step a cluster of 3 tiny teeth, like kernels of corn, cut from the cob. What the fuck is this? I yell, holding up the tiny fang. I'm surprised that I can feel so hot, like everything is pulled tight and the burning is filling my head. Jason squints at me from the top of the stairs. What did you do? I demand. This time, I don't move when he approaches me. I stand firm, that tiny fang the only thing between us as he hovers on the step above me. I watch his eyes refuse to meet mine, his mouth opening and closing, and I brace myself for whatever weird religious chant is going to make everything slip around me again. Instead, after a sharp intake of breath, Jason does nothing more than look down at his feet. Look, I'm sorry, but we had to, okay? The things you're doing, you killed her? She died. He brings his hand to my shoulder as if he thinks he can console me. There is no satisfaction for either of us when his hand slides through the air. She died, he repeats. She was old. It was peaceful. You murdered her. The minute I'm gone, you just got rid of her too, you see. She died 3 years ago, Laura. Alison and I, we buried her in the backyard, under the laurel tree. We thought she'd be with you now. 3 years ago? I saw her last week, racing up and down the stairs like she used to. I felt a brush between my legs, her long black tail wrapping around my ankles. You buried her? I say, picturing Jason in the ratty shorts he always wore while doing yard work, Alison urging him to hurry up because she had dinner on the stove. I pinch the tiny fang between my fingers, willing it to pierce me. Then you dug her up? We had to. We've asked you, begged you so many times. It's been almost 4 years, Laura. We can't go on like this anymore. What you're doing is cruel. It isn't fair. I know you're not happy. The wall catches and holds me when I step back. It feels good, a cradle that reminds me of my physical form. The dining room is to my left, and I can see little wisps of smoke from the blown-out candles still hanging in the air. Alison isn't there anymore. Jason sits down on the second to the last step, facing me. You remember this? He asks, running his finger down the bridge of his nose. You broke my nose. You almost broke Alison's ankle last month. The memory of Alison slipping all over the olive oil-coated kitchen floor makes me smile. It's not my fault she's clumsy. I still love you, Laura, but this isn't your home anymore. You have to go. This will always be my home. What about your grandmother? What about your friend, Charlotte? Aren't they waiting for you? No one's waiting for me. I've been alone since the first day, the first minute, the first moment I realised that nothing inside of me moves or grows or exists anymore. Alison and I waited a long time after you. We really did. We don't deserve this. I was willing to live with you, but you're going to kill us. There are dark edges gathering around my face, breaking apart and bleeding into me like ink on rag paper. I can hear Jason still blathering on about how nothing can replace me even though he loves Alison now, but his voice keeps falling backwards into the static of crickets and tyres and the earth shifting beneath us. Everything is alive out there, and they have places where they belong and places where they can go. Tomorrow, Jason will bring Alison coffee in bed, and they will argue about what movie to see, and they will eat dinner on the patio and get drinks at the French bar I used to like. Meanwhile, the darkness will continue to bleed into me, knitting together until one day that's all there will be. I look down at my cat's fang in my palm one last time, then press it into the centre of my chest, relaxing as whatever I am now absorbs it. As I go, Jason suddenly rises above the stifling hum. He's calling me again. I like the way he's saying my name. Jason and Alison are waiting for me in the backyard. Between them, piled in a tidy pyramid on the lawn, are the things I am missing. Our bed, my grandmother's roll-top desk, my favourite books, my cat's bones laid out on my red gingham dress, everything that is mine. Alison is standing very stiffly, as if she's holding her breath, a small metal canister in her hand. She looks to Jason, then back to me. You do not belong here, Laura. This is not your home anymore. These are not your things. Even her words sound rehearsed. I turn to Jason, my middle seizing as my mouth splits in laughter. It sounds so loud to me, like I might wake the neighbours, but he doesn't look particularly alarmed or amused. Behind him and his new wife, the moon highlights brittle branches like loose blonde hairs knotted over the ravine. Is that holy water? I ask, pointing to Alison. The laughter comes in hiccups. Where's your crucifix? Don't tell me you couldn't get a priest to come out. Jason stiffens, takes a step forward that Alison mirrors. You do not belong here, Laura. This is not your home anymore. These are not your things. Jesus, you two have a script? Laura, we have been fair and we have been respectful. We have asked and you have not complied. In his name and the name of the Trinity, Laura, we banish you from this house and this land. Laura, we command that you move on to where you belong. They chant it together over and over again until the words lose all melody and meaning and become a strange jumble of animal sounds against my ears. Even my name, Laura, is worn and flattened until it's nothing more than the bellow of a cow. I would still be laughing if it wasn't for the dark, leaking edges forming around my vision once more. Every time they say Trinity, it's like a bell, like the ding of a timer that makes the gold pour from their mouths. They are throbbing in front of me, and I wish I could feel the cold they appear to be stoically steeling themselves against. Still chanting, Alison takes off my obsidian necklace and tosses it atop my grandmother's roll-top desk. She starts to circle all of my things, shaking her small metal canister over the pile. I watch as my red gingham dress deflates and my cat's bones glisten under the lighter fluid. You two are sick, I cry. Jason stops chanting and walks towards me as Alison drones on in the background. This is your last chance, Laura. If you go now, of your own free will, we don't have to do this. We don't have to send you to that place. Even in the dark, his eyes glow shiny with cheap tears and real, sincere pity. You can't do this, I yell over Alison. This is mine. You can't take it from me. Nodding to Alison, Jason returns to his spot on the other side of the pile. I watch as they each whip out a matchbook and strike little flames in unison. Last chance, he calls. Fuck you both. The endless loop of their chanting never changes pitch, despite the sudden flash that spreads into 100 fingers of fire reaching out from all of my things. Alison manages to stay on beat even when she is forced to jump back from a rogue flame. The silky orange mixes with the gold from their mouths as they move to one side of the burning pile and join hands. The bellow of my name becomes a hammer. Comply, Laura. Banish, Laura. Move on, Laura. And everything is buckling and shrinking. All that's left of me curled and sinking into the grass. My dress gone like paper. My bed hobbled to 3, then 2 legs like a horse kneeling. My beautiful little fangs going flat, then black. I am reaching into the fire, but my arms fall outside the halo. The edges grow darker and darker, just undulating orange at the end of the tunnel. When I turn my head, I catch a glimpse of the intricately tiled grave marker under the laurel tree, her name spelled out in colourful stones below her picture. I hate to admit it, but it's beautiful. The gold is overtaken by the orange. It pulls me in, tucking me into my place alongside what used to be mine, the linked bodies and words of the people I used to love, erasing me, consuming me. The darkness, like before, is nothing, just the space between blinks, because I am learning to interpret time now. Everything that is mine is still burning. The dark sky is flecked with floating ash, its brown middle an umbrella over the pulsating orange bottom. I think of the fire as a living thing, leaping and reaching and growing and driving them away, doing the things I can't for me. The fire follows me, skipping across the lawn, spitting onto the roof. It adorns every shingle and hinge until the whole house is ablaze. All of my burning remnants give me strength. I spread the flames they create across the back porch, then the wooden fence, then the trees. Jason and Alison are backing away in shock, their eyes and mouths wide, dark voids as they yell to me, but I keep racing my flames towards them. Their words do nothing, mean nothing. Broken noses and black eyes were just an outlet, my way of expressing what I couldn't before. I admit I have been spiteful. I admit I've been enjoying the power I have found. I bathe every uncovered inch in fire. And Jason and Alison stumble, and Jason drops his phone and they start to run. My reach is long. I could end them. Instead, I let them run into the ravine. They will come back, of course. Tomorrow they'll come back, decide it's too much, and settle somewhere else. After the firemen come, and there is nothing left but singed earth and wet ash, I will still be here. When what's left goes to rot, and the earth grows its new skin, and strangers come and build, I will still be where I belong. This brittle, disintegrating husk is your old home now, Jason. This land, this place, will always be mine. So that's the end of Everything Here Is Mine by JAW McCarthy. I hope you enjoyed that story. I really like this story. I think it's a fresh look at the haunted house. I think it's an interesting take on vengeance, and that sometimes, the ghosts don't get exorcised. Sometimes the ghosts win. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode and that it's the perfect accompaniment to your Valentine's Day celebrations. If you like that episode, then please think about writing a review for us and liking it and sharing it. The more that you do that, the more visible we'll become, the more people will be able to hear these amazing stories. Okay, I'll leave this episode by saying take care of yourself and see you in a fortnight. Bye-bye. Unfeared, a podcast of ghost stories written by women, is researched and hosted by Jacqueline Gabbitas, with sound and production by Martin Parker. If you'd like more information about the podcast, you can find us on our coffee page at ko-fi.com/unfeared.